All right, y'all, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. Now, in this video, I'm going to go visit a lawn in the Chicagoland area over by there, and that lawn is seeded with a Kentucky Bluegrass that is unlike anything currently on the market. It boasts a lower, slower growth rate, meaning it has a built-in growth regulator, and that growth regulation also means that the green parts are packed tighter together, giving it a deeper green color. And it's also glyphosate tolerant. Now today I'm going to talk about this grass in detail, and I'm curious to hear in the comments what you cool season lawn folks think about these attributes once you see it in a lawn and hear it from the guy who grew it. Now before we get there, I just want y'all to know at the end of this video, I'm going to address the comments that came in about my video a couple weeks ago entitled, "My Lawn is Destroyed and It's My Fault." So stick around for that at the end here. But for now, let's head up to Northwest Indiana and take a look at this Kentucky Bluegrass that has been grown from seed over by there. What's up, y'all? I'm Alan Hain, the Lawn Care Nut. Thanks for coming back for yet another weekend vlog. Now, if you can't tell, I'm somewhere that cool season grass is growing. In fact, I'm up here for the week of 4th of July. I got in here on Monday up in the Chicagoland area and ultimately ended up over here by Northwest Indiana, where I used to live and started this channel. My sons still live here, and so I've been up here this week visiting them and family. But you know, I'm always going to do some content while here, and there's a couple things that I think will be pretty interesting for you today. The first is, you guys have heard of the Pro Vista, the Scott's Pro Vista St. Augustine grass. Well, there's actually a Kentucky Bluegrass version of that, and I did a seeding with that at Millennial Farmer's dad's house a couple 2-3 years ago and learned a lot there. But I wanted to get some more information on it because Jake the Lawn Kid, my good old friend, he actually has a full lawn service now, but he actually did a project starting in 2022 where he seeded some Scott's Pro Vista, and now it's up and running and looking good, and I figured we would stop out while he was on his route doing an application there and learn a little bit more about it. Oh yeah, that's what she said. All right, y'all, so I'm out here with Jake. We are on a Pro Vista Kentucky Bluegrass lawn that he seeded. So we're gonna kind of go through some of it. We're taking a walk, we're looking at some things, and then we're actually gonna do a couple applications today, including glyphosate for some problem grasses. So Jake, tell me, this property, when did you seed this and how did that go?
So it's really been a long road for us. We seeded this in May of 2022. By then we had the ground prepped, we had irrigation installed, so we had the whole 9 going into it. We kept up on the feeding throughout the summer, but we did run into a couple of setbacks later on down the road, a couple of them being drainage and the overall slope, which meant we were more vulnerable to stuff washing away.
Out, yep.
Yeah, so we had to come back and do a second seeding. Also, another thing I should mention was the weed population. Now, another thing to mention, we are dealing with land that used to be cornfields at one point, and because of that, a lot of those weeds that were here when this was a cornfield are still here, so we did have a lot to deal with.
So you had seed coming in and a lot of weed competition?
Oh yeah, it was horrible.
So were you able to spray weeds at all that first year?
Yes, we were. We were able to actually, anybody who's wondering, because we do get questions all the time, you are able to spray in the early phases of establishment at the lower rate. I think it's 32, no, it is. It's 32 ounces an acre. The higher rate is 48 ounces per acre.
So you seeded twice in 2022, then and fought with weeds. Then 2023 was what? Just to push it as hard as you can to get it to thicken up?
Pretty much, and we come over quite frequently, yes.
So here we are on July 3rd, 2024, just over 3 years since the initial seeding of this lawn, and it's looking pretty decent. There were quite a few seed heads still lingering because the homeowner wasn't able to get it scalped as low as Jake would have liked. We're finding that the scalping in the spring down to 1 inch is very important for this grass. If you can get down to 3/4 inch, even better. You got to get down below those seed heads and cut them off. Maybe even plan on doing this twice in some years, otherwise they'll just continue to linger. But that's what all that brown is. Most of that brown in there, yep. That's seed stalks. Yeah, that's all seed stalks. Okay, so it's not disease or anything like. Yeah, you can feel how stout these are. That's seed stalks.
Stalky?
Yeah, that's what those are. So all that brown is seed stalks. It's not disease, it's not scalping, it's nothing like that. It's just seed stalks that are in there. How long ago did he scalp it? Because you told him to scalp it.
He scalped the back.
Oh, he didn't scalp the front at all?
Yeah.
So these seed heads have just been lingering here?
Yes.
Okay.
Now the back lawn, it was scalped a little bit lower using a commercial mower, and you can see the difference here is there's no seed stalks anywhere. This further illustrates the importance of adding this to your yearly list of spring chores if you decide to go with the Provista Kentucky Bluegrass. Now as far as thickness, it's good in most places. There are still a couple spots that could be a little thicker. For sure though, the dark green color shows through, and now that we're in summer, the built-in growth regulator means this homeowner doesn't have to be out here mowing every single week. He can get away with twice per month and he's in fine shape. And then there's that other unique feature, a specific weed control that kills pretty much everything. It can only be used on Provista Kentucky Bluegrass. It can't be used on any others.
But here's the real selling point.
Glyphosate tolerant. So this stuff, whatever that is, clumping tall fescue there that you wouldn't be able to get out of every other lawn, we would just tell you, sorry, you have to dig it out. This can be eliminated now with glyphosate.
So one thing to note is that Scott's Provista Kentucky Bluegrass, that's not been available in seed prior, and that is because they needed all of the seed that they were producing in order to create the sod, because they're kind of growing the brand, right? There was also a little bit of a challenge with actually harvesting the seed because of it's a lower, slower grower. But now it looks like there is going to be seed available this fall, and I want you guys to know I'm working hard on a way to get that to you. Until then, I wanted to say with the Scott's Provista Kentucky Bluegrass, there are some considerations. And the first is that you really have to change the way you approach this. You're not going to treat this like other Kentucky Bluegrass. And in fact, those seed heads, those seed stalks, they never really get that tall because of that lower, slower growth nature. They don't get tall. So you actually have to scalp the Provista Kentucky Bluegrass in the spring, which goes against what we talk about with every other cool season grass. Like, you never scalp cool season grass. You just don't do it. It just allows too many other things, weed pressure, all kinds of things like that. But with the Provista, you have to, because you have to get all those seed heads mowed off. Otherwise, they just stay there, like you're seeing in the lawn over at Jake's, where it just didn't get scalped enough, and so those seed heads are still lingering there. The other thing with the Provista that I've learned and Jake has learned is it's slow to establish from seed. Again, lower, slower growth rate means it's not going to spread as fast. You really have to hammer it with nitrogen to really push it to get it to fill in, but it is not going to fill in like those of you that have been using, ryegrass that is incorporated with your Kentucky Bluegrass, and then you're using these Kentucky Bluegrasses that have been improved to germinate in 3 days and this and this and that. It's not like that. This is a straight Kentucky Bluegrass, old school, germinate at 30 days, and it's slow to spread. So I pretty much tell you it takes over 1.5 years or more to establish a full lawn. And you can even see here, this one at that, I think it's 2-year mark, even still could use some thickening. So if you're willing to work through that, where you're gonna have to change the way you go about treating it, especially when it comes to scalping in the spring, and you're willing to take a slower establishment from seed, what you're going to get in return is invaluable to some of you, because that's glyphosate tolerance. Glyphosate is a non-selective herbicide that kills pretty much everything, and because of that, now you don't have to worry about Poa annua, Poa this, Poa that, quack grass, Johnson grass, whatever other grasses, problem grasses that come in, crabgrass. You don't have to worry about any of those because you have glyphosate as a tool for weed control, and that pretty much eliminates all of those problems. Whereas before, a lot of those were death nails, especially if we're talking about the clumping tall fescue that you see in the lawn at Jake's there. There was really no cure for that until now.
Okay, now let me address some of the comments I got on the video from a couple weeks ago. And again, the title was, "My lawn is destroyed and it's my fault." That video, it triggered quite a few of you, and I want to go ahead and address it. Now, if you haven't seen the video, I'll link it up there for you. But to summarize, my lawn got overgrown severely in June. In fact, it was 9 full days of growth right in the midst of the rainy season. Palmetto St. Augustine, Floritam St. Augustine, and Empire Zoysia. All of these are in full growth mode with long days and daily rains. I went ahead and tamed the lawn and filmed the process, and it turned out to be a pretty big disaster. Why would I just keep trying to mow it when clearly I could have just raked and been done? Or why didn't I use the bagger for the Ego mower? Some folks were pretty fired up, and I totally get it. So first, it was not clickbait. Now, I know some of you think this, but that video was not set up as clickbait. I legit had some pretty big stuff going on that literally took my mind off just about everything. And then once that was resolved, I just kind of checked out for a week. Now, that was good for me, but it wasn't so good for the lawn. Now, of course, being that I'm the lawn care nut and this is a lawn care channel, when I did finally realize how badly overgrown this was, I did kind of think to myself, well, this is gonna suck, but damn, I hope I can get some good content out of it. And that's why I broke out the Kubota, because I wanted to get some of those sweet shots of the grass blowing out the side. Figured I might as well make something cool out of the sandwich I'm eating here on national television.
How could you do this to me on national television?
The real mistake I made was not anticipating how big of a mess this was going to make because of how overgrown it actually was. So in the past, when my lawn's gotten overgrown, I've just triple cut and I've been fine. But for some reason, that palmetto especially was extra thick and juicy this time of year. And what the Kubota did was actually created these long windrows. They were like 3 feet wide and 4 inches deep. I mean, it was literally like I was baling hay out there, and it was actually kind of beautiful from the sky view that I took. I mean, the color of the lawn was just gorgeous. So while I was enjoying it and also realizing simultaneously that the mess was a lot more than I thought, I just simply ran out of time for the day. And that's why I didn't rake, because I didn't have any more time. And I had planned to come back the next day and figure out how to deal with it, but then it rained and it washed everything in. And that's when it became a problem. And so you could see the video there. But again, I didn't do any of it on purpose. It was just a matter of underestimating how bad the job actually was. And then when I discovered it, I didn't pivot it in time. I kept with my original plan, which was to just try to mow it in, and it obviously didn't work. Thing is, when I came back from Indiana last weekend, my lawn was overgrown once again, this time 8 days. And so I went ahead and borrowed a bagger this time because, yes, I do think I threw my bagger away. I never use a bagger. In fact, when I got the bagger for this Ego, I never actually even put it together. So I'm assuming I just threw the frame away and the bag somewhere along the line. But this time I went ahead and borrowed a bagger. And here I had Nick create a nice montage so that you can see that, yes, I do know how to mow an overgrown lawn the right way. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I will say it was quite satisfying getting it cleaned up the right way. It took about 3 hours total, so not too bad. Now, hang in there with me, y'all, because I have actually some more content coming up from Indiana here later this week. Some fun stuff we did with sprinklers, tuna cans, going deeper than ever before. So subscribe, hit the like button, leave me comments below, and I'll see you in the lawn.